The book launch is here, David. We are ready to rock and roll, and
Ready to roll, man.
Thanksgiving week too. So happy, a whole lot of stuff to you and everybody that's watching, listening, participating in whatever way. What's going on, man?
I love it, man. I'm so proud of you, man. What a great week to launch a book. What a great week, man. I'm super excited for you, and I'm super excited for the book as well.
Yeah, we totally meant to launch it this week. Definitely not on the 16th, where our social media was talking about before. And that was definitely just like,
Totally
get people
this week.
excited and,
Right.
create the hype, right? And then
The buzz. Get the buzz going.
What is it? Like whenever you give a speech, you want to have the highs and the lows, right? That
Right,
was
right.
why we did that. Yeah, that's exactly.
That's it. That's it.
So,
Oh, man. Good to be with you this week, man.
you as well. Happy Tuesday, everybody. The copy of Pathfinders is out, ebook now, and then a little bit later today on the 21st, the paperback will be available. And David, I guess I can't please everybody. They're like, I want a hardcover, and I'm like, well, we'll get you one, just not yet.
Just not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. How about a hard copy, right? We can meet you in the middle there.
Get an electronic copy and then get a hard copy.
Exactly, right? So we'll call it the bundle deal.
Bundle, yeah.
I just got off the phone with Alex, and she said hello, and I said thank you to her for the introduction, because that's what this is all about, is connecting great people together. And so there's so
100%.
many amazing folks that have come together in the Pittsburgh region and beyond, right? The network is growing a lot. So, hey, I wanted to first sort of ask your perspective of whenever you first heard of this concept of personal board of advisors and career mapping, right? Kind of concept one, concept two. It probably wasn't from me the first time. Maybe some of the structure was, but what was your take on that concept the first time it did come to light for you?
Yeah, Pete, I think when I first heard, especially when I heard you talk about it, it rang a bell because I love having a personal board of advisors. I've been an advocate for, call it a peer network, call it a mastermind, call it, a board of advisors. All of those things really mean having people around you to help really like feed into your life and feed into your career and help you to make that next right step. And I think that, anyone who is, has some intentionality with their career, with their life, has to have a personal board of advisors to come around them. So I loved the concept and I loved the idea. And it's been, part of my life for a long time, for sure.
And it's something that we can do formally or informally. But now that we have
absolutely
a map to professional growth, I'm an engineer, right? So give me a good process, give me some structure, like sign me up, a list, right? Check boxes. Whew. I got a bunch of sticky notes here. Whenever something gets done, the psychological benefit of crumple, 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 toss. I'm all in.
Love it.
Now, the next piece is around some of the leadership development programs, rotational development programs. I'll give a shout out to Lockheed Martin in the comments here, see who we can bring over from some of the LDPs. But kind of first talk about some of your work that you do in leadership development and how this methodology might be able to help some companies that are like, oh my gosh, I got to take care of my people. Oh my gosh, again, how do I do this?
Right. Well, what's so interesting. I was just part of the launch of the Exit Planning Institute here in Pittsburgh, and there's a new chapter just started up just this month. Actually, I take that back. It was just last month, end of last month. Time flies when you're having fun, right? But one of the statistics that the Exit Planning Institute talked about was that I think it was like 72% of business owners haven't really even given any thought to any kind of a succession planning and how to hand off. Yeah, it was mind-boggling. The other really interesting aspect of this is that 50% of all changes in businesses are unplanned. And I can speak from my own experience, because my personal story was that my change from the number 2 seat into the number 1 seat was totally unexpected. Back in 2003, my dad passed away, just suddenly, had a massive heart attack, passed away, and I suddenly got elevated into the CEO role of our company. And man, I was not prepared. And so had I had a personal board of advisors and, a map to help me to grow into my next stage of personal development and leadership development, I would have, been in a much better place. And so all that to say that I think it's super important to create that kind of mapping for our team. And so one of the things that I do is I create, safe spaces for emerging leaders and advancing leaders and elite leaders to be able to come together and really share, learn, and grow and develop as their next step evolves. And so I'm really passionate about being able to help people grow into the next step of their career. So I'm so excited about your book, Pete, because I think it really does, thinking about that structure, that, that your engineering mind has really been super helpful to be able to put a path together and a structure together. So really excited.
Thank you. And you're part of this story, right? And learning from some of your experiences, insights, sharing some of those perspectives along the way, right?
Yeah.
Everybody is part of what Pathfinders is. And as more and more folks, read it. One of my friends texted me this morning. They're like, I'm not really a book person, but I'm they're a synopsis person, an audio person. And they're like, and I'm a quarter of the way through it already. I'm like, whoa, that's a really big
I
deal.
love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
you
That's
took
great.
time to do it. That's fantastic. And then they're like, we need to get the word out about this. I'm like, well, I'm trying to. So let's
Yeah,
let's keep it going, most definitely. Um,
absolutely.
on the piece of really good leadership development programs, right? You're going to learn some stuff. There's going to be some educational content, hard skills, soft skills. I think there's a lot in the soft skills, and there's some
Yeah,
networking. And
right.
kind of what else have you seen in those? I call them LDPs, right? That really take things to the next level. We can get into some of the
Mhm.
mentorship pieces and some of how this methodology can help. So if that's your piece, you can't use that. You have to choose something else first.
Something else.
But
Yeah.
let's just talk about, like, at a high level, what really really good looks like as we weave our
Yeah.
way into it.
Yeah. So there are a couple of thoughts that kind of come to my mind. First and foremost, I found that a lot of leaders need to know how to just speak off the cuff and to be able to speak. There's so many times they're in a board meeting or a meeting and they don't really have the confidence to speak up and to be able to share something off the top of their mind. And so I think that any leadership development program that is really best in class offers an opportunity for the leaders to learn how to do that, to learn how to
Yeah.
just speak off the top of their mind, give them a subject and let them go for a minute or two. And I think not only does that help them to communicate better, but it also bolsters their confidence because they know that no matter what subject they're given, even if they can talk about it for 30 seconds or a minute, just about their top of the wave thoughts, that just bolsters so much confidence. And that's the other thing that I think that any leadership development program needs to have, and that is both speaking into confidence and executive presence, but then also quite frankly, just being able to communicate. And I think those are two really core elements.
Yeah, if we don't train the trainer, right, it gets to be a little bit tricky. And I think you've seen, and I've seen numerous occasions where
Yeah,
it's like, hey, you're now in charge of these like 6 people. You have
right.
direct reports. You're doing their time, time cards, their performance reviews, these different things. And it's kind of like, whoa, maybe there's some
Yeah,
imposter syndrome. Maybe there's some
100%.
like, hey, I don't know what to do. So something that I really like about your work is, sure, we are focused on leadership development, but it's also making sure those leaders, can be good leaders. They have the necessary
Right.
tools in their toolbox. Heck, they have a toolbox, right? You can
Right.
put your individual
Exactly.
contributor toolbox like on your desk, like, okay, you're pretty good with that one, but we got some new skills and tools that we have to add to the equation at this point. So now let's talk a little bit about like the implementation, right? So
Yeah.
this concept, you've probably seen mentorship programs in a couple of different places, right? Western PA, more and more companies are getting up and running doing them. What does it really mean to have a solid, people connection program inside of a company?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think really what it means is that a company is helping their people to just learn and grow and develop, whether that's a path that gives, that leads to mentorship, some kind of mentorship or mentoring program, whether it's a formal, communication and leadership development program. I think it just matters that it's intentional, because that's what leaders really want. That's what people in leadership want to have. They want to be able to be poured into by their companies so that they can contribute. Everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to do the very best that they can. Nobody shows up to work saying, I hope I can do the least amount of work possible today, at least the people that you and I are around. So I think what it really means is having something that's formal, having a structure that really leads people along to their next step. And so I think it's super important for every organization to have, big or small. And sometimes the smaller organizations think, well, I'm not big enough to do that. Well, I have to say that if you're an organization and you have any people in your organization, you have to develop them. You have to help them to learn and to grow and mentor them, because if you don't, your company is just not going to grow. And in this environment that we have to pour into our people.
So I think it's something that we can't afford not to do, right? And
Yeah,
as long as there are a
100%.
couple of folks, now let's look at it from the leadership perspective, right? You're
Yeah,
doing a lot of coaching. I think there's an event that we have to give a shout
yeah,
out to
right.
coming up
Yeah,
soon, right? So it's
yes, that's exactly
nine,
right.
9 days away, right? So we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. But like, hey, I'm a CEO of company XYZ, right? We got about 150 employees.
Mhm.
We're actually about to add a new location, right? But I'm super busy, David.
Yeah,
I got a lot going on. How in the world am I gonna, walk the walk and talk the talk whenever it comes to this?
yeah,
Is there stuff that I can do asynchronously? How can I build this into my rhythm? But I'm just
mhm.
super busy, man. I don't know if I can do this. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, I say, I like to make analogies to sports a lot. It's always good to be able to take time out, and so that's why they call timeouts. And
Yeah.
if you're into racing, that's why we have a pit stop. We've got to purposely get off the track, refuel, put new fresh tires on. Taking time away is actually the most important thing you can do as a leader. In the military too, they have this saying that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And what that means is we've got to slow down. We've got to slow down and be purposeful about our movements, be purposeful about our leadership development. And yeah, I know we're all going 100 miles an hour, but if you don't stop, just think of, if you're going 150 miles an hour, but if you're going in the wrong direction, what is that going to do for your organization? So my point is that you got to take a pit stop. You got to take some time out, because I think the most important thing for a leader to be able to do is, quite frankly, be able to think, get set time aside to think and to be poured into. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and to add an exclamation to that piece as well, I've done more and more, keynotes and workshops, presentations, especially
Yeah.
over the last 2 to 3 months, and
Yeah.
they've been with a lot of, higher level leadership. And whenever we start talking through, hey, who's on your personal board of advisors? What's your career map look like? They say just that. They're like, holy smokes, I talk about these kind of things, but I'm not really taking time to do this, right? Just like you
Right.
said, me as an
Yeah.
individual, how can I got to do preventative maintenance on the most important machines in the factory, as well as
Yep.
the ones that are support, machines in the factory. And so they kind of
Exactly.
had this lightning bolt moment where they're like, whoa. And then
Yep.
they, wrote down, career map things like line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So it's been a lot of fun to help kind of guide people on that mission and
Yeah.
say, hey, just some things to think about, right? And make it
Absolutely.
your own. I'm just gonna point you in a couple of directions, ask a few questions of you. And we now have the so you get the book, right, paperback later today. On the back, it has a QR code opposite, let's see here, opposite side of the ISBN. And
Love.
then when you scan that, it gives you some of these worksheets and
It's
that you can
awesome.
actually take action, right? So
Yeah.
really, really excited to arm people with the tools and resources to be successful and to win, right? Because
Yeah.
reading it and consuming it is one thing. Let's take action. Let's be
It is.
persistent, consistent.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say, Pete. That's one thing that I think that your workshops did. I was in one of your workshops, and I just think it was fabulous about how you take your structure and really help people do something with it. Because it's
Yeah,
one thing to read a book, but it's another thing to actually put it in action. So I really want to encourage people to definitely get on the QR code and go get those resources because man, it's really important to put things into action.
yeah, and I think it's something that you want to revisit, right?
Yeah.
Think about your
Yeah.
performance review. Okay, well, your performance reviews, hopefully more than annual right now. What do you do to prepare for that? Right? What do you do to prepare for each of those conversations with your mentors, with the different people on your personal
Yes.
board of advisors, right?
Mhm.
So to put it, and it can be as simple as, "Oh, I'm not a tech person." Cool. You have a calendar of sorts. Can you put
Eh,
something on there that repeats every 3 months and it says,
right.
go read my notes from Pathfinders? Pretty
Yep.
simple. Just get a manila folder, right? Print some things
Mhm.
out, pencil and paper, right? There's more tech that's coming soon. So stay tuned for exciting updates there. But
Love
like,
it.
it can be as simple as that, right? Build this
Mhm.
into your onboarding process. That's one that I'm really
Right.
excited for is, hey,
Yeah.
our onboarding, we give them a t-shirt or, coffee cup, or, a couple of pens or a notebook. Why don't give them some talent development in a box or what I say in a book,
Right.
right?
In a book, in a book, yeah.
Yeah, give them what they
Yeah,
need.
absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I love that idea.
Um, so have you seen kind of leadership development come from like the onboarding, like very early on in the corporate experience? Have you been part of groups or seen or and maybe the answer is yes or no, but ideally if you were able to sort of wave your magic wand, right? When do we get
Yeah.
that going? Do we wait a little bit?
Yeah.
Do we, start right from day one, day -5, right before they get here? What are your thoughts
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, no, I've not. I've not seen it, in an onboarding process. But I think that is ideal because, and I like to call it integration. Actually,
Yeah.
it's bringing someone from the outside and integrating them in within our organization. And I think that just makes perfect sense to be able to bring them along, and just to say that's just how we do things around here. We develop our people and here's your development in a box in a book and be able to really help them to have even from day one their sights set on what's next for them. So I think more companies ought to be doing that. And so if I were to wave my magic wand, yeah, I would love to be able to have more organizations doing that and really having an intentional pathway for their people.
Yeah. So, hey, I'll wave mine and say, hey, companies, give David a call. Say what's going on. I have a couple of other opportunities to discuss with you and Megan pretty soon as well in alignment with that because there's so much
Awesome.
opportunity around here for us. David, any like
Excellent.
kind of closing thoughts? I want to make sure we're respectful of everybody's time. But if there's,
Sure.
one or two things that's like, hey, really emphasize this and this. I'll put the link to the book up here on the bottom of the screen. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this again. There we go. So
There you
people
go.
can get over there. But yeah, kind of
Love it.
bring it home, and let's really add those exclamation points here.
Yeah. So my feeling is that, having a personal board of advisors, having a clear pathway to, leadership development, I think is essential, especially in the era that we're in. I mean, we're not in the industrial era anymore. And so we have to be thinking like a new era company does. And that is pouring into our people and helping them to learn and to grow and to develop. And sometimes that means allowing them to fail and helping them to fail so that they can kind of try new things. And so my feeling is that the more that we can get tools like your book and your resources into people's hands, the better we're going to be able to help all of our people to grow, which will then in turn help our organizations grow. So I think it's crucial for growth all the way around.
Yeah, I think anybody who doesn't know much about David, please check him out on LinkedIn. He literally talks about that in his About Me section, where, I'm big on, helping organizations grow and sustained growth. And then you talk about investing in the people, and then you talk about those people investments translate to productivity, profitability, better engagement. Like, there's a lot of good things that, even if you're not a fluffy people kind of person, you're still happy about the bottom line going up, right? We're getting more
Absolutely.
stuff done. We're spending less money on it. Gosh, I don't think there's any CFO or COO that'd be mad about that kind of an approach.
Right. Definitely not. Definitely not.
Cool. David, thanks so
Love it.
much. Thanks everybody for
Thank
tuning
you,
in.
Pete.
Really appreciate it. Again, please, we're close to bestseller status, so please go over to the link
Go
here.
get the book.
Yeah, get the ebook, paperback later today. And the last thing, we almost forgot about this. Share your story. It's been
Yes.
so valuable. Just, hey, if you know me, I'm a big fan of like a selfie, right? So take a
Yeah.
selfie, of the book, share your thoughts about what that meant to you, but also, do you have a personal board of advisors? Tag me, tag David, tag some of the other
Yes.
people, right? But say like, hey, I'm looking for this kind of a board seat to be filled, right? The
Yeah.
goal of this initiative is so that we can all grow together. This is not an I or a me. This is an us, and this is
We.
a, and a we. Exactly.
Yeah. It takes a community, man. It takes a community. And I think I'm so excited for the resources and the book that you put out into the world, Pete. Can't wait till we can remove that nearly part of your name and just say best-selling author.
I
I know it's going to
appreciate it.
happen, my man. No, it's going to happen.
I love it. Thank you.